and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to you, everybody. Jimmy behind the microphone. You're in front of the speakers, and me in front of a camera as well. Good. That's exciting, isn't it? Lakey in front of a camera. It's exciting as hell. But the brim of my hat, Delilah, is up a little bit. Let's turn it down. There we go. Tilt. Okay, we're looking good. Welcome to the program. We're running late this morning. Technical difficulties. As we were going live, we realized that the stream applications that we use had disconnected all of our Facebook feeds, and we're on Facebook across America from the Media Equalizer, Red Wave America, Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page. And because of that, I said, well, we're going to leave off half the audience, or not about half. We got a lot of followers on the Twitter and the Rumble as well, and the YouTube. Anyway, we had to reconnect to Facebook on a technical glitch, and it's nothing you did, my friends. We were not avoiding you. We were not late on purpose or out of disrespect. We just didn't want to disrespect all of you that tuned in on the Facebook this morning. So if your Facebook notifications came late and not showing up at all for some reason, there were some technical difficulties. Not on our end. We did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong, my friends. It was just a technical between this platform speaking to that platform, and they chose not to speak to each other, and we had to rectify the situation. How's everybody doing today? I got a question for you. We'll start off with some fun. I guess we'll talk about Kamala Harris on the Colbert Show. Did anybody care? If I had not told you, or if it had not received media coverage from other places telling you that Kamala was on Stephen Colbert last night, would you have known? Would anybody know whatever happens on Stephen Colbert if it didn't hear about it in other news searches like conservative media? It's kind of like the question, would any of you know what the fat cows do at the zoo? I mean, the View. Yeah, the View, the Zoo, the whatever. If you didn't hear about it on Fox News or cable television, conservative shows or radio, you would not know what happens on the View ever, because most of you are too intelligent and too many other things, and you would never watch the View. So anyway, letting you know, Kamala was on the Colbert Show, and if by chance, the off chance, any of you tuned into Colbert last night, we would love to hear from you and get your take on that whole conversation that could have happened last evening on the Colbert Show. Coming up on the program, big time, Doug Giles going to be on the show. You don't want to miss that. It'll be the first time this week that we will mention the name or have the topic of conversation of Sydney Sweeney. Anybody know the Sydney Sweeney controversy? She's evidently some actress that everybody knows except me, and I didn't know who she was until she decided to work for American Eagle. And evidently she'd used something about her color of her jeans were blue. She has good genes, and the left goes bat crap crazy and says she must be a white supremacist out there because these fat lesbians that drive Subaru Outbacks for the American left and live in their parents' basement, non-gender, non-binary, gender fluid weirdos that probably needed more time in a psychiatric hospital. They're out there thinking it was racist for Sydney Sweeney to be in there. Anybody remember all the actresses and actors that have promoted things of many different cultures and ethnicities? Somebody said there's some of the I don't have the whole list here, but there's people of color, if you will, that have advertised blue jeans before. Remember, Brooke Shields was the one when I was a wee middle schooler, late elementary school. I remember this girl lying on the television screen or the billboard or the magazine, and she would say something, nothing comes between me and my Calvins. And as a young tyke, I was thinking, prove it. But she never proved it. But the gene ads have always been kind of a cultural controversy, even back in the wee days of my childhood. And Sydney Sweeney, we'll talk about that. Doug Giles wants to talk about that And so if you have opinions on it, feel free, and we'll pass those along to Doug as well. John Lake's going to be on the program. Scott Walter's going to be on the program. Big time lineup of guests coming up on the show, so I'm glad to have you here tuned in today. Did anybody, and I mean this seriously, did anybody watch the Colbert Show? I don't think anybody gives a rat's patootie about what happened on the Stephen Colbert Show. I saw that she put a book out yesterday. Yesterday, she announced she was putting out a book called 107 Days. And it is a story of her 107-day campaign to be the president. Let me ask you, is there a more painful book that you would imagine reading than Kamala Harris? And is there anybody out there? This is a woman who can barely cobble two coherent sentences together. She's the queen of the word salad. Is there anybody think that she had even the slightest part of writing the book herself? I think she alluded to the fact that she was journaling the whole time. I don't believe a bit of it. I haven't read the book, but if it has two sentences and proper punctuation, and I don't think Kamala wrote it. But is there anybody's book that's more painful that you would like to read? I mean, what would make a Kamala Harris book interesting to you? I think if it was maybe from Doug's perspective, her second gentleman, maybe if a Kamala's Secret Service agent would tell the story of Kamala Harris behind the scenes, that would be interesting. But is there anybody out there that is ever going to want to read the Kamala Harris book? It's the same thing with a Hillary Clinton book. Why would I ever want to read a Hillary Rodham Kinkles Clinton book? First of all, she's a lying Sacagawea. Second of all, it'd be propaganda. Third of all, I just don't really care anything about Hillary Rodham Kinkles Clinton, and there's not a thing about Kamala Harris I'd want to hear. Let me ask you, phrase it like this: Is there anybody that you could think of more boring or more awful to read a book from? Is there anybody more awful to read a book from? I'm reading some of the comments coming in on the chat room. Therefore, I stuttered. Is there anybody's book that would be more or less interesting? I wouldn't mind a Bill Clinton book. I think that might be interesting because he might tell some dirty stories. You could do a Bill Clinton book, but not a Hillary book. Kamala's book, really? I mean, is there anything that you think you could learn about her campaign that you didn't already know? Speaking of Kamala and Hillary and campaigns, I'm asking, that's a great one, just popped in. Willie Brown may have have a hand in writing it. Maybe if Willie Brown wrote his book about Kamala Harris, I think that would be a book that would be kind of like a Bill Clinton book. There'd be some dirty, dirty stories out there. The name of the book's 107 Days, and Rich says that's 108 days too long. I mean this sincerely. I cannot think of a less desirable book that I would like to read besides the Kamala Harris viewpoint of her campaign and how she got her ass whooped by Donald J. Trump last November. Anyway, if you plan to read it, I know some of you are much more prolific readers and you digest the books and you intake the books and they just put them on your reading list. Is there anybody out there that would intend to purposely buy the Kamala Harris book, 107 Days? Now, there's a bunch of idiots showing up at the Colbert Show. We're excited to hear she was the guest of the night, but they're Californians and they're idiots, right? So we expect stupidity from them. And they're, Kamala's here. This is wonderful. Somebody asked, there were people on the sidewalk doing polling, would you vote for Kamala to be the nominee? No, we're glad she's doing an interview tonight, but nobody really wanted to sign her up as their Democrat nominee again. Anyway, so the book's out. Kamala Harris wrote a book supposedly, and we'll see. I think maybe a POV, you know what a POV is, a point of view, maybe from the bottle of vodka. The POV of a bottle of vodka and that relationship with Kamala. That could be interesting as well. So that would be a good one. All right, this scandal that's happening that, boy, it's getting nasty, it's getting dirty, and I thought maybe there was a little bit of hyperbole going on, saying that this is the greatest political scandal and political hit job in American history. But it seems as if that actually may be the case, that we have a hit job that started with Hillary Rodham Kinkles Clinton and was doubled down and corroborated by the intelligence communities, the FBI, even Russian intelligence. We're finding out, even Russian intelligence turns out that they knew and predicted comments that were intercepted from them. Hey, they're about to do a hit job on Donald Trump and say he's buddies with Vladimir Putin. It was a grand conspiracy, and it's really kind of confusing, and it is amazing as to how many moving parts there were. There are now memos out there that are saying that the George Soros organizations, they were going to take the lead on media. There were two other media press firms that also in the internal memos of Hillary Rodham Clinton they were going to take the lead on press and leaking press stories. And it's interesting, and there's a reason why you're not going to see this on MSNBC or CNN. You're not going to do big coverage of this biggest scandal ever, I think, perhaps is growing there, is because it's not that I think they're going to try to save Barry Hussein Obama, not that they're trying to save the reputation of James Comey or Brennan. I mean, that's part of it, but they're not driven by that. Those people are has-beens. Those people are no longer in power. The reason the media is not going to cover this stuff up very, very good. The reason the media is not going to cover this, and they're going to keep it covered up, is because in admitting that all the whole Russia collusion was underway and underplay, and they weren't reporting it, shows the weakness and the faultiness and the bias of the American media. So there's a reason the media is not going to cover it, and you're not going to get a lot of coverage of it unless they're forced to do so. And I hope it seems like it's getting large enough. And when some people start becoming indicted, I think this will be a news story. But I want to give you a public service announcement, because I have people that throughout the time of the last many years, I try not to say I told you so, but there's so many things that I could say I told you so because I'm right, they were wrong. One of those is about the little effort, Dr. Fauci. I warned friends, colleagues, and associates years ago when Dr. Fauci first walked out, the little effort first walked out and started warning us about the Booger Cooney virus. I turned to people and I said, he is an evil, evil man. Stay away. Do not believe what he speaks. What he speaks is not true. And I told people that Fauci was a problem. And I had a good friend who was trying to make some business in the with the COVID, with some personal protective gear and doing business deals. And he would love to watch the daily updates of Fauci. He thought he was getting the gospel truth. It was as if Jesus had returned to the mount to give another sermon. And he wanted to hear the doom and the gloom and the lies that Fauci was telling about a global pandemic, right? That's what he wanted to hear. Turns out Dr. Fauci is Joseph Mengele in a sense. Dr. Fauci was an evil man. I believe committed crimes against humanity and led our country in a very nasty and horrible direction that some people physically and mentally never have recovered from, and it's all because of the little effort. And I warned people about the little effort, but some people, because the media threw them up on a pedestal, it took them a year or so or even longer to realize that Dr. Fauci was a lying Sacagawea, right? So it took a while for some people. I'm telling you, if you're one of the people out there that for even more than, let's say, 3 seconds, believe the Russia hoax, the Russia collusion, Russia, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump is a puppet. Now, all the documents are out there. If you have any intellectual inquiry or interest, you can go out there and find the documents that have been declassified that show since day one, even before the election in the summer of 2016, the Kinkles or Clinton campaign, they were running this stuff, and that they were running with this narrative, and they said this is going to be a long-term effect on Donald Trump, and it was 2 or 3 years that it took to shake all this stuff. Listen, if you are a person out there that ever believed Dr. Fauci was right and you didn't listen to me, then you probably should have your head examined or your heart and realize you are very susceptible to cult-like tendencies. You're very likely to go join a cult just because someone said, I mean that sincerely. Some people were in the Anthony Fauci cult, and they, despite warnings from people like myself, shouting from the rooftop, avoid this man at all cost. If you, for more than 3 seconds, maybe even more than 2 seconds, ever believe the Russia hoax, and you ever believe that Donald Trump was a puppet of Vladimir Putin, then you should also probably, and I mean this sincerely, this is love talking to you, you probably should get some help and start to, and I mean, I'm not joking, you should probably get some help in your head as to why are you so susceptible to propaganda? Why are your spidey senses not up there? My spidey senses are very high when it comes to propaganda. That's how I knew that Dr. Fauci and Dr. Scarf were farces. That's why I had to create code names on them so I could get past the algorithms so that I could counteract their propaganda. If you were ever curious as to, oh my God, how much involvement does Vladimir Putin have with Donald Trump? If you contemplated it, I mean it seriously, you were prone to brainwashing and you were susceptible to a psyops campaign and you gave into it. And let me give you some real bad news. If by chance you at first believe the Fauci stuff, and if by chance you also at first glimpse believe or question the Russia stuff, if both of those happens, my friend, you do realize that what has happened is that you have been put into you have been propagandized, and you were subject of a psychological operation by the U.S. government, and you might want to start investigating your life and your belief system and your gullibility as to why it is that you were so susceptible to such stupidity. Just throwing that out there. That is a public service announcement from me to you. All right, can we talk about something fun? Well, yeah, if you want to talk about the scandal, who do you think would look best in an orange jumpsuit? Is it Clapper? Is it Comey? Is it Brennan? In this grand conspiracy, they all thought that the statute of limitations would run out before they ever got outed. And yet now, if they're looking at it with a strike force team in the Department of Justice as a grand conspiracy, that extends that means it's ongoing. These people continue to operate in this, and so the statute of limitations may not save their bacon here. Who's going to look better in a jumpsuit? Hillary, Rodham, Kankles, Clinton? Is it Barry Hussein? Oh, by the way, I heard James Comer yesterday say, he says, don't be very surprised if old Kamala gets a subpoena to come up to Washington, D.C. to talk about Joe Biden and his cognitive ability. Speaking of Joe Biden and his cognitive ability, he made a speech somewhere. I think they gave him a $1.99 and a senior discount on a Big Mac. That's kind of what he got. He got the senior coffee at McDonald's, and that was his payment. And guess what? He was talking about how great his administration was. Great. He was talking about how. So I totally got distracted there. So, well, I'm looking at a note that's coming in on my guest, and so I have a guest coming up. Anyway, Joe Biden's up there speaking. He's talking about how great his presidency is, how bad the Donald Trump presidency is. And Joe Biden said, one of the brightest and smartest people ever have been appointed to the judiciary, and that is Ketanji Brown Jackson. Listen, you know you are mentally expired. You know that you don't even have to open the milk carton and sniff it to know that your brain's gone bad. If you think that Ketanji Brown Jackson is some paragon of intellect, Ketanji Brown Jackson probably couldn't spell the word cat if you spotted her the C and the T. Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's a French fry or two short of a Happy Meal. She's a crayon. She's a crayon or too loose of a full box. I mean, she's not all there. But Joe Biden touting how he appointed the most diverse judiciary in history and one of the smartest jurists ever, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I'm sitting here going, you know, this guy's mentally defunct whenever he's bragging, but the idiocy, bragging about the diversity of his judiciary, not about the constitutionality of it, not about the brilliance of their minds and legal thinking. No, they just happen to be every color of the rainbow, and therefore it's real good. Joe Biden, keep on talking. It is a reminder. It is a total reminder as to the idiocy that was that presidency. And Kamala is probably going to get hauled up to the to the White House, to the hallowed halls of Congress, given a subpoena, and be asked to testify, and be told she has to testify as to what she saw behind the scenes, because obviously Joe Biden was mentally decrepit. Joe Biden had lost a step or five. Joe Biden was spiraling downhill quickly, and yet Kamala was out there, again, subjecting all of you to psychological operations and warfare and telling you that there's nobody sharper than Joe Biden, and she can't even keep up with old Joe Biden. And so I throw this out here. I want to throw this out here again. if you if you questioned, there's another piece of psychological operations, psyops, that were used on you. Dr. Fauci was a saint. Dr. Birx, the scarf lady, was a saint. Listen to what they say. If you ever believed that for a moment, if you ever believed if you ever believed anything Fauci said about COVID, even on day one, even on 7 days to shut down the curve or whatever he did, if you ever believed Fauci, you were subject to and you gave into, susceptible to psychological operation by the U.S. government. And if you ever believed that Russia, and Donald Trump colluded with Russia, then you were subject also to a psychological operation, psyop operation by the U.S. government. And if you ever thought, man, they're just making this stuff up about Joe, he's right in the head. They said, Kamala said he's right in the head. You have been subject to psychological operations by the U.S. government of manipulation and propaganda. And I'm just wanting to let you know that you really should start contemplating and considering changes to make in your life. And I am not joking about this. If any of those three, and I could name some more psyop operations of the government, if any of those three have ever, you're like, yeah, I bought that one. Oh, yeah, that was me. If any of those hop off the page to you, you really need to evaluate yourself, because you are subject to government psychological warfare. And that's what they waged on you. It was a propaganda campaign, and you did it. And you got to remember. So I'm giving you an opportunity this morning for self-evaluation. All right. I'm supposed to have a guest coming up. I got a couple of messages. I don't think it's about that. So my guest is not there. So we shall continue. I have a, excuse me now. I book guests when I have a sore throat. I can cough. But when guest or no show, they suck. So let me give you this question of the day. How many of you are small talkers? How many of you like to small talk? And by small talk, I mean, let's say you get Uber. I Uber a lot. I Uber to airports, from airports. I get my time in Ubers, right? And there's times I'll talk. I talked to the last Uber I was in. The guy happened to be an African immigrant, and we talked about the country he was from. Talked about my work in Africa, but that small talk started because he said his name and I couldn't pronounce his name on the phone. So I asked a question. I said, okay, where are you from? And he knew exactly what I was asking, and we talked about Africa. I'm not sure that was small talk, but that was just good conversation we had. But here's an awkward time. I was at a restaurant. There's one in particular restaurant that I go to sometimes by myself. My son's in town. He likes to go there. And their host area where you walk in and say party of one, party of table two, or whatever, it's up in the front, and then you kind of walk down this hallway. It's a long way. It's not like, okay, first booth over here. You got to kind of walk and meander back to the dining area. It's kind of an adjunct area. And inevitably, you go in there to eat, whether it's one or two or five people, whoever walks next to the hostess, and they're usually a high school kid, a lot of times a high school girl, and you're walking, you're just wanting to get some food, you're just kind of glad to be in a restaurant, glad to be out of the heat or whatever, and they will turn to you and say, how's your day going? Good? Any big plans for the day? Listen, we have 45 seconds or 60 seconds to get back to that table, and I'm going to have to convey my Dear Diary moments with you. It's the most awkward thing ever. I don't like the small talk. So you're a small talker or no small talk? That's your question of the day. That is your question of the day. Small talk or no small talk. Let me know what you think on that. Do you like the small talk? It's very awkward. Do you have big plans for the day? Seems to be one of the questions of the day for anybody who is a small talker. You could be waiting on a cup of coffee. You could be waiting on a credit card connection to whatever it is. And somebody will ask you and say, they will ask you, do you have any big plans for the day? And I'm like, first of all, if I told you my plans, one of us is probably going to get in trouble because it has to do with a backhoe and a dead body and a box of lye. I'm joking, but it really bothers me to know the small talk. So anybody small talker, Jeff says on the YouTube, guilty. He says he's embarrassing his wife all the time. I have a feeling it's not just your small talk that embarrasses you. I'm joking there. No, there is some good small talk. You can sit down next to a stranger and, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Good weather out there. Great weather. Yeah. Really hot. Yeah, we could use the rain. Sorry, I need my guest to show up because I need to drink down some warm water here. I've got this allergic thing going on, this cold going on that I've had going on. So I apologize for the delay. Anyway, there's some good small talk, but it needs to stop there. But when you ask me, hey, do you have any big plans for the day? Listen, this is a transaction that I am making, and I'm just trying to buy a cup of coffee. I'm just trying to get a seat at the restaurant. Am I old cranky pants? Is that kind of a get off my lawn thing? Or is small talk something that annoys a lot of you? So small talk or no small talk? That is the question. Small talk or no small talk? That is the question for the day. Do you like the small talk? Do you not like the small talk? I'd love to hear from you on that, please. All right, what else do we want to get to? Oh, hostess at restaurants. I think, yeah. I just got a message and I had a thought too. It's really that's where it happens a lot. It registers, if you're at the cash register, that transaction is kind of done when, okay, thank you, because there's a line behind you. But it's those awkward moments where you're in this awkward moment. This is where we need a commercial to go to, is what we need. It's that awkward moment where they just want to have a conversation and learn more about you than what they need to know and more about your day. I'm not a fan of it. Again, if you see me in public, if you're my waitress or my hostess or my host or my waiter, I want to make sure I get all the genders in there. Feel free to say hello. How you doing today? Doing good. Thank you very much. How's your day going? Good. We can stop there. You don't need to ask me about my plans of the day. First of all, I know you don't care. Second of all, if there's a quiz, you're not going to remember. And third of all, if I've got plans, you're not going to help me fulfill them. So why the heck do I need to share them with you? Again, let me give you a little bit of a hint. On the small talk. Now, you ready for this? The small talk. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing today? Doing well, thank you. How are you? How's your day going? You had a good day? Very good. Well, that's good. Good summertime weather. Stop there. Just stop it. Walk to the table, seat me down, give me my menu, and leave me the heck alone. That's all I care about. Jeff says a shot of Jaime Lagos tequila might kick those allergies. Yeah, it might. And we're going to have to practice putting some fillers in here so that when I need to step away and clear my throat, I can do that without it sounded like rank amateur hour. It is a fantastic point that the tequila. By the way, I never did my own tequila company. I thought about a bourbon company at the time, back when I did the Lakey cigar company. When we did the cigars, I thought we'd pair it with some bourbon, and I actually walked a little bit down that pathway of creating a brown juice of some kind of a whiskey. But COVID hit, and that shut down a lot of dreams for a lot of people. Sorry, guys, I got a little frog in the throat. We may have to do something different here in just a second because I'm sure it's not pleasant for you to look at, and I keep trying to mute the microphone. But we have no alternatives here. This is a low-budget operation. Jeff says, read the room before speaking to people. Some appreciate the interaction. I'm not trying to be cranky on the interaction. I appreciate you being friendly, but just think of the question you're asking. If you're asking me if I have any big plans for the day, what if I don't? What if I'm going to 3 funerals and I'm going to unplug someone on hospice care? I mean, you don't want to know all the details. What are your big plans for the day? What you got planned for the day? It's really none of your freaking business because you never know. Somebody may be putting their pet down that day. You just never know. So I throw all that out there to say, give me your viewpoint. Are you a small talker or not a small talker? Back to the bourbon and the whiskey and the tequila. I never thought about a tequila. I was never a tequila guy until recently. Other people have introduced me that tequila is a sipper. You can sip the tequila, and it's not just something that goes in your margarita. So, yeah, I've learned a lot about that. All right, good to have you here. I apologize for the raspy throat and the coughing and the random silence. I have no other options here on our low budget program because normally if I was in radio, I'd say, hey, roll the bumper music and let's take a break and I'll come right back. And that's when I'd go solve the problem. But there's no opportunity to do that. So here I am choking and trying to sip warm liquid without making grotesque grotesque sounds in the microphone. All right. It's Dave says it's kind of like that commercial where they're teaching people not to become their parents. That's what I kind of thought. I thought maybe old people like small talk. Hey, how you doing? You've really grown up. But now it's like everybody wants to have small talk. And I think it's part of the training at Applebee's or something. I've been at Applebee's in forever, but it just came to mind. It's a dumb question. Hey, you got any big plans today? Got anything going on today? No, I have absolutely nothing going on. I'm just here. I got asked that at the post office one time, and I got to answer the people at the post office because those of us who grew up as Gen Xers, we know the phrase "going postal" is there for a reason. We know the postal service. It's called going postal because they could kill you, and so therefore, when the postal bureau, any big plans today? No big plans at all. Just here to have fun at the post office. That's everybody's joy, to have fun at the post office. That's my plan for the day. Anyway, small talk or no small talk, that is your big question of the day. The big question, Aruski, is do you like the small talk or do you not like the small talk? All right, Arloa says, we're not disturbed by your coughing, Jimmy. You just feel bad for me. Well, I hope you feel bad for me because I'm trying to hold back. I'm getting raspier because I'm holding that cough in the back of the throat, and it's not getting any better. All right, let's get a couple more news stories here, if we may. I would appreciate your patience with the cough button that we don't have because I'm working through it. I promise you I am. It's all good, kids. It's all good. All right. The Biden inquiry. They're still looking into whether Joe Biden was of right mind. And here's a question I have. From all of this investigation of Tulsi Gabbard, the grand conspiracy theory, all the investigations happening in the House Oversight Committee. Yesterday, this has confused me. Somebody may be able to explain this to me. While they were unleashing documents that were classified previously, Charles Grassley, who's the head of a Judiciary Committee, head of one of the committees where the old founding fathers of the Republican Party, I think he was around during the days of Lincoln, he declassified some information that showed Hillary Rodham Clinton was indeed a part of this original conspiracy against Donald Trump. And so, but I wondered, and this is a question that came to my mind, why was Charles Grassley, who has the documents? Does Charles Grassley have a slew of documents that James Comer doesn't have, that Kash Patel doesn't have? It's like Grassley decides to declassify something. Everybody's declassifying. I'm like, wouldn't it be smarter if all of these documents were together and we all looked at them together? It really is. It really is just kind of a crazy thing that everybody's releasing documents now, and they're all telling the same story. How many of you are like me, though, have the fear and wonder and the question and the problem in your head? You're wondering if possibly all of it's just hype. We're going to have all these news stories as we have so many times before, and nothing is going to happen. Is there anybody out there that with 100% confidence, you are fully confident that Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, all these people are actually going to be able to file some charges and hold someone accountable? That's my fear, is that this is just going to be another dog and pony show of investigation, and all the evidence gets laid out right behind you. All the evidence is there. And as the evidence is there, if the evidence is there, then it doesn't matter. We see the evidence and nobody gets charged. So I'm just a little curious as to what your confidence level is, because I'm enjoying it. I'm actually scared to death to see just how nasty these people have been back to the Hillary Rodham Clinton days. Even the fact that Barry Hussein Obama, more evil and decrepit and treasonous than I ever imagined him to be. You know, I thought his lies were just stopping about birth certificates and things like that. I thought Barry, I just thought he just wanted to be the president and would fake a social security number any way he could so that he could become the president. I didn't realize that the guy wanted to basically become a dictator, become a third world dictator, banana republic, and try to undermine and or stop the inauguration of the next president of the United States. So the more that comes out here, some of you, again, need to start recognizing how evil Barry Hussein Obama is as you see it in the evidence. I mean, most people probably would say, if you're voting on who the most evil person in American politics could be, there's a lot of folks that have Trump derangement syndrome to say it's the orange guy, Donald Trump. But there's a lot of people that would say, yeah, and both sides understand that Hillary Clinton has suicided more of her friends. Have you ever seen the list of how many people in the Clinton circle have committed suicide? Most of us have probably known somebody or distanced someone that have done that, suicided, and just had a horrible death like that. You look up the Clinton list; it is a long list of people that somehow suicided themselves by shooting themselves in the back of the head. It is a long. Had to make sure the mic was muted. It was a long, long list of people. Well, again, the more we look at this, the more we're going to find out that Barry Hussein Obama is probably one of the... Hillary was corrupt from the side, and she was corrupt, but she was never the president. Barack Hussein Obama, Barry, actually, we're finding out, used the power of the presidency. He used the power of the presidency to literally put the groundwork in place for a coup. Again, add that to your list. If you've ever believed that Barry Hussein Obama was who Barry Hussein Obama said he is, and you question the people that talked about his social security number, you question the people that talk about the birth certificate, you talk about the people that talk about just his entire persona as being maybe fake, and you doubted it and said, oh, he seems like a nice guy. He's got a nice little wife, got some kids. No, you're starting to learn that Barry Hussein Obama was part of a psyops operation in which the government and political leaders caused you to believe that he was something that he's not. The evil that is being unmasked here and put out on grand display for people to see is not just shocking, but what's also shocking is how many people are going to refuse to believe it. Absolutely, positively, they are not going to believe it, and they're going to refuse to believe it, and the news media is not going to report it, not because the media, I think, is trying to protect Barack or Hillary anymore. I think the media just does not want to have to admit that they are really, really, really propagandists and a mouthpiece for the federal government. All right, good to have you here on the program. I apologize for all the coughs. I'm sure that's not helping our ratings any, that I'm having a coughing fit here on the show. But nevertheless, I have two choices. We should cut the show off and I go, or we keep going. So I've chosen to keep going, and I appreciate your patience. I saw that comment from the YouTube, Jimmy Lakey 29. Are we supposed to ask? Looks like you're trying to start small talk. You know, that's the problem with the camera here. Everything is under scrutiny. By the way, the shirt is blue. It is a blue shirt. It is kind of a steel blue, if you will, but it is a blue shirt. First thing producer Chad said this morning to me was, hey, looks like a great gray shirt on the camera. At that point, I throat punched Chad, and now he's voodoo hexed me with cough because of the throat punch is what it is. Yeah, so no, it is a blue shirt. You know, I'm not even going to explain it. Because the point is, I thought I had it on the other way so that you could see what was on the other side of the mug. But now I'm not going to show you. I am going to just let you be tortured by this as to why is that? Is it code for something? Is it like a pineapple on your porch? I mean, what kind of code are we sending out here? Just asking for friends. I don't know. Are we supposed to ask Lakey 29? Are you supposed to ask? I got it on my 29th birthday last month. Yeah, I'm a little older than 29. Yeah. Now, see, people just notice the strangest things around here. All right, let me invite you to do something with me besides cough and wish me well for this. It's the allergies that just gets dry and raspy, so that's what happens to the throat. Friday, about 5 weeks from right now, we will be convening at the Colorado National Golf Club. And as we convene at the Colorado National Golf Club, we will be raising money for my charity work, Rivers Promise. And I would like for you to please, if you would, be there. And if you don't golf, it doesn't matter. Just show up there and golf with us, or just come drink with us. It's the bar is open. It's fun. Well, sponsor. We hope it is. The point is, it's a great fundraiser event that we have. It's Friday, September the 5th, and you don't have to be a golfer to be a part of it. First of all, there's people that just kind of bring a golfer, and they bring a golfer and they sit in the golf cart and watch them golf. We've got people that they couldn't. If it were baseball, they get 3 strikes on every hole because they missed the ball with their club. I mean, it is a cluster mess of a golf tournament. I had a friend who has a young adult, just had a college son, and he said, "I may come in, Dad, and I think I got this. We're some ringers. I think I can win the golf tournament." And his he told his son, he said, "Yeah, you're not going to win this golf tournament." "Well, I've got some great players. One's going to qualify for the tour one day." "You're not going to win the tournament. This tournament is bought and paid for." I'm going to tell you, for the last 8 years, the same guy and his team have won this golf tournament. And they've won this golf tournament and have and they've done it by buying what we call the gimmicks. We buy string, grenades, mulligans. You can buy hole-in-ones. This is all about fun and fundraising. And it's Friday, September the 5th. And I'll tell you this, that if you'd like to also be a sponsor of the golf tournament, maybe a whole sponsor, maybe you want to be the person that gets the credit for all the beverages that get passed out, lots of opportunities are on the website, Rivers Promise, but we're 5 weeks away from today. And September the 5th, we'd love to have you. It's a Friday after Labor Day. It's at the Colorado National Golf Club, but that's easy access to the interstate and to the airport. So it's just north of the Denver area, heading in a little bit towards Boulder, not far from Fort Collins, about 25, 30 minutes from the airport as well. So if you want to fly in, but we'd love to have you Friday, September the 5th. It is a fun day, and it is a very rewarding day because you're making a huge difference in the lives of the kids that we help at Rivers Promise and our work that we do in Africa. And all the registration, all the information can be found at riverspromise.org. riverspromise.com. And again, it's a great excuse if you can't participate in this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. If you cannot participate in the event, at least make a donation and say, "Hey, can't be there, Lakey, but here's a donation for you." All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here on the show. I appreciate everybody's patience as I have this little allergy cough thing going on. John Lake's going to help me out here because he's going to get to talk some, and I'm going to get to mute my button and cover my mouth and have a little coughing fit. So that's going to be very, very beneficial for me because you're probably tired of watching me cough and hearing me cough. But good to have you here on the show. I want to welcome into the program, if I may. Let me get the right bio in front of me, the name of the book, because I'll screw up the name. The name of the book is called Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. It's a John Leake is a nonfiction author, lifelong interest in medical history, forensic medicine. He has worked with the legendary Dr. Peter McCullough, was the primary author of their best-selling book called The Courage to Face COVID-19. You might read him daily on Substack, a newsletter, and is secretary of the McCullough Foundation. Please welcome Mr. John Leake into the program right on time. And John, I promise you, it ain't the COVID, it's the allergies. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. I'm sorry you're suffering with it.
That's the thing. You just got to keep going and sip water and hope that somebody else will start talking a little bit. First, give us your background, fascinating background. You're fascinated by medical history and the forensics thereof. Just kind of talk about what gets a young man interested in that becomes his career path.
Well, I grew up in a medical family. My grandfather, I should say my step-grandfather, he was my grandma's second husband, was a Harvard-trained doctor, and he had a huge library of medical history. So I grew up kind of with the lore of medical history, but I studied just conventional history. I went on to live in Vienna, Austria for many years, where I stumbled across an extraordinary true crime story. I'd never been that interested in true crime, but this was such a fascinating story about a transatlantic serial killer that I couldn't help but be drawn into it. And it involved a lot of forensics, a lot of medical forensics, pathology, and forensic medicine being the study of how do we die? What is the cause of death? We often think of it within kind of whodunits is violent crime, murder. But it's a whole branch of fascinating medicine studying how we die. And so I became interested in forensic medicine. And when the COVID-19 pandemic came along in early 2020, I began to perceive that what our medical authorities in Washington were telling us, it didn't sound plausible to me. It sounded like a lot of misrepresentations. So I got very intrigued about this. Like, what exactly are we being presented with? Where did it come from? But I knew that I needed a medical authority to help me in interpreting what we were seeing. And as it turned out, Dr. Peter McCullough was virtually my neighbor in Dallas, Texas. So we got together, I as a true crime investigator and author, he is a medical scientific authority. We wrote our first book about the pandemic response. And since 2021, we've just marveled at the fraud and the chicanery of the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. There was so many lies told about this that we became interested in the history of the entire vaccine enterprise, going all the way back to the early 18th century. So now we've written our second book together. It's a critical history and evaluation of vaccines going back to the smallpox outbreak in Boston, Massachusetts in 1721, and the first public inoculation campaign in Boston. And we go all the way up to the year 2021 with the COVID-19 vaccine.
The voice, again, if you're listening later in the day, you're not watching the screen, you're on the podcast where thousands of earballs will hear this program. John Lakey, author of a new book called Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. John, I know producer Chad and we've talked a lot about vaccines, and I've been a student of vaccines since my son had a vaccine reaction at one point, and I started investigating what the heck's going on here. A long personal story that ended up me making some decisions regarding the future of the VAX in my house moving forward. So that's a whole different story. But I know I've talked to producer Chad. It seems like growing up, everybody just kind of got the shot. You got your shots, you got your shots. Then in the 80s, and I want you to kind of put this in perspective, Ronald Reagan signed a bill, and a bill that basically gave pharmaceutical companies kind of a carte blanche and let them off the hook on the vaccinations and any fallout from that. Was that kind of was that the start of something bad, or was there something bad going on before that? Did that accelerate the big pharma industry to being off the hook with these things?
Yeah, I would say that arsonists had already been lighting fires in this, but the Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 86 dumped a huge amount of gasoline on this. Vaccines came about the concept came about in the 18th century when living conditions in cities like Boston or London or Paris were unrecognizable from what they are today. People drank sewage contaminated water, nutrition was horrible, housing was horrible. People were, especially amongst the urban poor, they didn't have adequate heating in the winter. So people were far more susceptible to infectious diseases in the 18th and 19th centuries. But it is undoubtedly a mesmerizing and charming idea. We don't dismiss the concept of vaccination altogether. We just think that there's been an undue zeal and a lack of true critical reflection and examination of these products to optimize them. But to go back to 86, I mean, this is where, the real world problems with vaccines, it was mostly from the wholesale pertussis vaccine. A certain percentage of children would develop encephalopathy, the inflammation of the brain, and become badly brain damaged. So there were lawsuits in the 70s, mostly because of the whole cell pertussis vaccine. The manufacturers went to Congress and they said, look, we can't continue making these vaccines. We can't make them 100% safe. A certain percentage of children are going to be injured by them. But the pharmaceutical companies, asserted that that number of harmed children would be greatly exceeded by the number of deathly ill children if vaccines were pulled from the market. So what the manufacturers did was they asked Congress, please grant us liability protection. You know, we can set up a fund to pay off pay compensation to the parents of injured children, but we can't bear this liability. Congress accepted the reasoning of this, presumably with the aid of some lobbyists incentivizing it.
Yeah.
The problem is twofold. First of all, as interestingly enough, the great liberal hero, Justice Sotomayor, she wrote a dissenting opinion about a major landmark Supreme Court case, Bruisewitz versus Wyeth, about a vaccine injury. She wrote the dissenting opinion for taking the side of the plaintiff, the family of the injured child, saying the problem with vaccine liability is it undermines any incentive to improve the product. It's like, well, now you've just got a carte blanche to make a bunch of dough on the thing, and you don't really have to invest in making it better. The other thing is that when the legislation was passed, it was to cover about 7 vaccines on the schedule. But since the pharmaceutical companies got liability protection, they've added, surprise, surprise, suddenly the schedule really proliferated.
Yeah.
And now we're told that children just need to be vaccinated against everything. I mean, there's talk now of vaccinating children to immunize against a temptation to drug and alcohol abuse. So the whole thing has just gotten completely out of hand. And the other thing that Dr. McCullough and I have been observing is that the vaccine enterprise has never been an entirely scientific enterprise. In many ways, it has all of the hallmarks of religious orthodoxy. People become sold on the idea, going back to the smallpox outbreak in Boston in 1721. The lead advocate was a famous Puritan minister named Cotton Mather. He proclaimed that inoculation was a gift from God, that everybody needed to receive God's benefaction. If you rejected it, you were rejecting God's benefaction and were basically reprobate. And that attitude, at some emotional dimension, that attitude has persisted ever since. When we saw during COVID-19, Anthony Fauci availed himself of papal infallibility. He said, I am science, and anybody who questions me questions science. So it's like, well, what are you, Anthony? Are you infallible? Do you possess all knowledge and understanding of the human body and disease? So we've seen this kind of orthodox assertion, and anyone who questions it is excommunicated, cast out of the College of Physicians, kicked out of polite society, never go on the media again. So we think that the vaccine enterprise has this kind of religious zeal. And with our book, we want to take this enterprise back into the realm of critical debate and evaluation.
The name of the book, again, is called Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. John, it's very likely we've been at this show for a while, and anytime we ever mentioned the word vaccine, a matter of fact, for a while, we just had a yellow piece of paper. I'd hold it up, and it just said Vax on it, because the tube that starts with a U, owned by Google, they would ban the show, and they threatened to shut us down forever. And I'll tell you how sensitive they are in making sure that the story is out there. I had a biographer that wrote a book about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., And I asked him, how did he get his development of thoughts on vaccines, the vaccine industry? How did that progress? It was just simply a biographical question from a guy who wrote RFK Jr.'s biography. And YouTube said that I was spreading false information and practicing medicine without a license or whatever they accused, shut us down for weeks, only because I asked a biographer how a guy that's in his book ended up down this path. They're very sensitive about the critical nature. Is that because are they protecting big pharma? I mean, why so protective?
Well, so there you have Google acting, you see the parallel with the religious wars of Europe in the 16th and 17th century. There, Google's being the holy office of the Inquisition. If you question, even ask a question about the orthodoxy, you shall be instantly banned, put on the list of prescribed books or videos or interviews, and you're done. This is obviously outrageous. Why? It's a combination of ideology and a huge amount of money of advertising and lobbying. And this is an enormous liability-free bonanza. It took me a long time to recognize that all of these stupid pharmaceutical commercials that you see on the evening news, those aren't to sell pharmaceutical products to the end consumer. There's no even intention. No one looks at, whatever the BS thing and says, something, I think I really need that. I'm going to go talk to my doctor about getting that. If the person is suffering from a health condition and they're consulting with the doctor is incentivized to prescribe this anyway. So the point of all this advertising is it enables the pharmaceutical companies to buy the influence of the media. So if Fox News were to bring somebody like me on talking like I am, you can imagine the CEO of Pfizer calling Rupert Murdoch and saying, hey, Rupert, you might have noticed that we buy 60% of your ad revenue. So you need to throw that smartass off your show. And that's exactly how it works. It's that direct. And we've seen the influence of the pharmaceutical companies over Mr. Murdoch. We actually documented in our book. So it's not selling advertisements, it's buying the narrative.
Wow. A fascinating book. We want to have you back on, talk more. The latest book is called Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. John Leake is the author. Perhaps you read the book that he worked on before with Dr. Peter McCullough. It's called The Courage to Face COVID-19. I will also tell you how you can read his daily investigative reports on his Substack newsletter. That's coming up. But John Leake, Leake, the name of the book of Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. I know somebody just posted up, book is purchased. I like this guy, says somebody on the Rumble page. So, John, we hope some people will buy the book. I want to have you back on. We'll talk more about this because it is a fascinating topic, near and dear to my heart, just my own personal journey of learning the truth about that V word versus we all had this perception, and now I think a lot of us have the scales wake off of our eyes. Real quick, author John Leake, is that your website, authorjohnleake.com?
It is. I realize it needs to be updated. I'm not very good at social media. It's not my strong point. I prefer to write books, but yes, author John Leake, JohnLeake.com.
All right, just so one more quick question. I want to go to my next guest, and we'll have you back on, John. If people get a copy of the book, they need to get a copy of it. Obviously, there's a lot of shade to kind of throw at these people, and a lot of history, and a lot of just kind of enlightenment that you're going to put in there. Is there any positivity about the industry? We're living longer. The pharmaceutical companies say, "Yay, that's us." Is there a sunny side up to this egg?
Well, we've seen over time that with criticism, with questioning, insofar as any of it gets through, it has resulted in vaccines being made safer. I mean, there were questions about the whole cell pertussis vaccine. There were lawsuits. But then some Japanese researchers thought, well, is there any way we could make it safer? And it seems that the acellular pertussis vaccine is at least a little bit safer. So it's not, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Vaccines have had utility in reducing morbidity, actual case counts. So we're not throwing it out altogether. We're just proposing that it be opened up to critical evaluation and debate, and hopefully improved.
Yeah. Author John Leake, Leake.com. John, I mentioned your Substack. I want you to give that out as well. But the name of the book is called Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. If folks want to get the book, I'm guessing Amazon, all the great places. And where else can they find your work, sir?
Dr. McCullough and I write a daily newsletter together called The Focal Points, thefocalpoints.com. And there we have daily postings about what's going on in this space, as well as general public policy. So go to thefocalpoints.com. We write some pretty fun stuff.
The Focal, F-O-C-A-L, focalpoints.com.
That's
it's a Substack newsletter, and I appreciate you hopping on the program. Great conversation, and thank you. You gave me a respite. I don't have to cough so much here this morning.
I enjoyed it. Good luck with your cough.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. John Leake, and again, the name of the book, it's a really interesting book, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more reminder. Friday, September 5th is our 9th annual charity golf event at the Colorado National Golf Club. And if you want to be there to play, join us. Registration is open now at riverspromise.com. If you can't be there, maybe you even want to be there and be a sponsor. There's all sorts of levels of sponsorship. Entry level is kind of a whole sponsor on up to the title sponsor slot is wide open right now. If you would like to get all the credit for all the fun, look up the title sponsorship. It's available. Riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. But 5 weeks, I think, from today, Friday, September the 5th, we will be there, and I hope you'll be there as well. Come in from out of state, out of town. Colorado National Golf Club, beautiful golf course in the Denver, Boulder area, just not too far south of the Fort Collins area. It's an easy access to get to, and you want to be there Friday, September the September the 5th, riverspromise.org or riverspromise.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Doug Giles joins me on the stage on this Friday morning. My brother from a different mother, author, extraordinaire, painter, artiste. The bio goes too long for me to read, so let's just go. Doug Giles, good morning.
Look at that handsome rascal right there, man.
It's on the Amazon bestseller list, I see.
Yeah, number 3 in less than a week. And it's number 3 in nutrition. So, not only are hot blondes back in vogue, but putting the Bam to Bambi and getting, as Uncle Ted, high protein, low fat yumminess portioned out on thy plate. It's back in black, as AC/DC would say. And I'm all the more giddy about political correctness, going the way of the ether or the dodo bird. The Bible and hunting, Jimmy. Good Lord.
I love it. I was telling my producer Chad earlier. I was telling producer Chad the marvelous way that not just you get these books distributed on Amazon, but you also have this magical way of trolling people out there. If it's a book about hunting and barbecue, you're probably likely to list that as a main topic of recipes or vegetarianism, and this one you're haunting them in the nutrition category.
Yeah, I love it. We put pussification when it published in 2016 in gender studies. and Bruce Jenner, Caitlin, he just came out with his book, Caitlin, and like a week before we published pussification. And so, Jimmy, I don't have multiple millions of dollars backing marketing, but that book so frickin' struck a chord that it shot to number 1, I think, like in 2 days, and it owned that space for 4 months, and it dethroned Caitlin's, breakout tawdry autobiography about how she wants to now walk around in 14 size stilettos with fake boobs and pussification. So my publisher and I, it's like, let's F with people. Let's really play the marketplace especially if you're woke and politically correct. So we would take all my books and we would put them in categories on Amazon that like if you're writing a book about Christians and prayer, it's like, let's put it in Christians and prayer. How about put it in Satanism and witchcraft and incantations and spells? And so we would go right into the enemy's lair, just like Daniel in Babylon, and then we would occupy until Jesus comes.
I want to get to the Sydney Sweeney story here in just a second, but for those that don't have a copy of this book, The Bible and Hunting, you polished up a previous writing that you did. Talk about this book. Let's just go ahead and plug it.
Yeah, so this is it's the second edition. We originally published Rise, Kill, and Eat in 2014. It sold out and went out of print. The publisher no longer publishes, and my publisher was like, dude, this book is so great, we've got to resurrect it. So it's spruced up a little bit, content added to make it au courant, and plus I got a whole new audience. Most of it was Facebook driven back in the day before I got banned for life. But look how thin that is. Jimmy, you can read that in an hour. So the book's not going to shame you. It's not going to look at you as like, you picked me up and then you left me alone. This is like one good toilet exercise, man. Bam, you're done. And so the whole thing, I go through Genesis to Revelation, proving irrefutably that the Bible not only tolerates hunting and fishing, but actually, Jimmy, it was God's idea in the first place. And I put out the challenge, man. It's so funny. Nobody's taking me up on it because they're terrified. And again, I say this with childlike glee. If you can show me one verse, okay? Anybody listening to Jimmy's show right now, if you can show me one verse, just one, not 10, not 5, not 3, just one that's anti-hunting, I'll eat a tube sock, okay?
I hope there's a recipe section in the back of the book. Maybe that's the next one, the biblical hunting recipes, because they hunted, they killed, they had to cook them. I'm thinking there's a recipe book coming.
So here's a question for you, big dog. All right, Jimmy. So hate to put you on the spot, but who killed the first animal according to the scripture? Do we need some Jeopardy music?
Da, 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 da. Well, let's see. They weren't killing the animals before Cain killed Abel. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say Cain, or was it Adam?
Well, you're hovering around the spot, but I hate to correct you, even though my gift is being a consummate smartass.
I hate to correct you, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
Yeah, so the first person that killed an animal was God.
Oh.
So I'm guessing he killed an animal. So when Adam and Eve sinned, he made them clothing from an animal hide. So
that's true.
So unless God's incredibly masochistic, I'm guessing he downed the animal that he utilized the hide to cover Adam and Eve's nakedness, because you skin something alive, that's brutal. Yeah. So if you want to be like God, are you listening, Lakey enthusiast? Kill an animal. But here's what's also weird that drives the anti-hunters nuts. They didn't eat it. So he killed an animal. Adam and Eve didn't eat it, which, to a lot of people, that's a sin. And then he turned the animal's hide into a loincloth and a beautiful leather miniskirt for Eve. And again, you don't hear this at youth group, and it's lost on a lot of people that God, he did that. And you know who killed the most pigs in the scripture?
Jesus.
Yeah. He sent a herd of Wilburs over a cliff. Yeah, and they didn't eat them. It's like,
well, they
you
were
must see.
possessed by the devil. The demons went into him. All right, real quick. Speaking of, I guess the way you dress, Sydney Sweeney is not wearing animal skin. They're on the American Eagle commercial. She's wearing some baggy jeans. I thought they were good jeans, but evidently, if you're a white girl that says you have good jeans, you must be somehow related to Adolf Hitler or something.
Yeah, again, this proves the point that Ann Coulter made 20 years ago, that liberalism is a mental disorder. So you get this beautiful blonde-headed, 20-something girl, Sydney Sweeney, and cheekily advertises American Eagle jeans, which I've never heard of them before in my life. And all of a sudden, this is the resurrection of the Fourth Reich. And we're all going to be led goose-stepping into Nazism. What's funny is that, Beyonce, I think in 2015, she did a similar ad, maybe even, later than that, for jeans, wearing nearly the same damn outfit. And nobody, blew a blood vein in their forehead over that. And the thing that I dig about it is that we don't have to look at Lizzo and say, well, that's great. She's modeling jeans. No, it's not great. Obesity is a horrendous thing to promote, especially to young kids. And I like, Jimmy, the fact that, RFK Jr. and Donald Trump and Bryson and the field goal kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, Butker, and Triple H, and all those guys said, you know what we're going to push going forward is health. We're going to require these fat kids with eye posture who are so blubbery that they can hide small toys in the folds of their fat to pass a phys ed test before they can graduate. Dude, that's how we grew up, man. We're doing monkey bars. We were climbing ropes. Do you remember that, Jimmy? Climbing ropes to the top of the damn gym. And
there's nothing under. You had a little thin pad.
Like if you drop from there, bam, you're dead. But they didn't care because our parents didn't think we were special.
No, they did helicopters. Like, oh, there's one less mouth to feed. His jaw's broken. It's going to be good. Liquid diet. I like that. But it's interesting that I guess if they would have put a fat transgender person with a bulge in the pants claiming to be a woman out there in a set of jeans, that would have been celebrated as diversity.
Yeah, by 10% of the population. Listen, I think, and this ad proves it. And watch, Big Dog, because Victoria's Secret, they tried. Let's put some big old fat chicks out on the runway, and everybody's like, we're not buying your push-up bras anymore. You watch Levi. I don't even know who does jeans anymore. Ralph Lauren. You're going to get all these guys. They're going to start pushing forward these gorgeous girls. I think Carl Jr. is not going to put some Jabba the Hutt out there, choking down a double cheeseburger. It's back with Kate Upton. It's back with Charlotte McKinney. And, again, I know I'm supposed to be a Christian and not say this thing, but I like looking at beautiful women. The same reason I like looking at a beautiful axis deer or a whitetail or the Grand Canyon. God created them. And what's funny about beauty, and if you trace beauty through the scripture and women in particular, that the inspired scripture says of the women that God created that they were beautiful of face and form. And so, it's like, well, we're not supposed to recognize that. It's like, are you insane? It doesn't mean that, you've got lust problems. It's just a recognition of God showing off his handiwork, and a beautiful woman, a handsome dude, or a beautiful painting. It's beauty, you dumbass. Celebrate it.
Yeah, I saw last night Arby's is bringing back a hot chick selling the French fries. You mentioned Carl's Jr. She's seductively eating the French fries. I think it says hot girls eat fries or something. So at Arby's, they got the meats and they got her. It's kind of, there's a whole correlation there. But the beauty is back in America, and so is skinniness, and that's good. Health is back.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I don't know if you watched the presser with Trump talking about the re-implementation of physical ed classes in public schools, but man, there's a freaking huge problem. I was looking at this some pictures of a church congregation, and Jimmy, every flippin' person in the photograph was fat as hell. And I'm sorry, Christian, but gluttony is a sin. So when we think of sins, Jimmy, it's like, adultery, fornication, homosexuality, cigarette smoking, drinking moonshine. So we've got this totemic view of vice. And you know what doesn't play into the evangelicals' view of theological infractions? Eating too much.
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
I'm 62, man, and I got a chin-up bar right out there at our veranda. I can go out there right now and rip 20. I'm 62. I do 200 at least, 200 push-ups a day. I ride at least 50 miles a week, and I've never stopped doing it since I was 14 years old. Throw in some dumbbells because we're way far away from a gym because we live way out in the country. And it's just a lifestyle, man. And to see people just, man, the health problems you're going to have by eating that crap and putting that poison into your body. I hope you're cool with an early death, because the Grim Reaper is moving towards you with that kind of dietary, no holds barred consuming of garbage. It's just.
Real quick, we'll get one more topic here before we got to get one up. But Doug Giles is our guest. If you're listening later in the day, as this hits all the podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcast, you're hearing audio only. Obviously, Doug Giles, DougGiles.org is the website. Reset the table, and you can go check out all of his writings and books, art. Everything's connected there. DougGiles.org. Doug, real quick, give me the commentary here. Your thoughts on this horrific scene we saw in the streets of Cincinnati. Two white folks, two crackers, I guess, got the heebie-jeebies, the living crap beat out of them by, it looks like a crowd of a different color. What's baffling by this, there was hundreds of people standing around with video cameras filming it, only one 911 call, but the streets of Cincinnati, what the heck's going on there?
Yeah, and that the one person that called in on this melee of black people beating the shiitake mushrooms out of 5 people. So it was 4 dudes and 1 female that just got absolutely cold cocked, sucker punched, knocked unconscious. I don't know if you've seen her, but she's like in her 40s, the most severe black eye that I've ever seen in many, many moons. And so the person who called Jimmy, they called after it was over. So, he's not that heroic. So the crowd had already dispersed, and he's like, I better phone this thing in. But it proves that, he's got somewhat of a conscience and an air of responsibility. But, brother, I'm telling you, man, if that was a bunch of crackers beating 5 black people to a pulp, this whole damn nation would be burning George Floyd style. Cincinnati would be just upended. But, in the days of political correctness and wokeism, you can do that to white people. And that's why, my point of view on that's why I don't go to those places, man. Like if it's a sanctuary city, if it's a woke, city, I don't, if I go, nothing good happens after midnight. I avoid, highly congested places that might be ripe for those kind of altercations. And that's why, I mean, like right now, I'm sitting in the wonderland of the Texas Hill Country. Nobody's threatening me, and I've got my little 380 Sig Sauer on my hip. Should anything, arise, coyote comes, rattlesnake, mountain lion, we've had them come through our property, or a gang of idiots that want to beat me up, I will double tap the center mass of any jackass that approaches me or my loved ones. And, I hate to say that kind of stuff, but what those people went through, oh my God, man. Like, yeah, that's why I don't go to protest, because I want to protect the protesters. I get in there and you violate my space, or you threaten my wife or my kids or my grandkids, I'm going to go caveman Doug on somebody.
And then the mayor of Cincinnati's out there. She was trying to say, don't portray this in the wrong way. It's not what you think it is. And you're like, oh, first of all, how do you get elected? And yet they'll probably reelect this person again.
Yeah, again, it's same thing with Chicago and New York City and Mamdani. Man, but there's just, again, it's like the whole anti-Sydney Sweeney ad. We're just talking about a fraction of the population, because most people, they want to enjoy the city. They want to enjoy a night out. They don't want to see this shit happening. Nobody's like, yes, this is great, except for the lunatic cultural Marxists that hate this grand experiment in self-governance, and they allow for this kind of mayhem to go on to serve whatever kind of weird end to their wet dream of destroying the United States.
Doug Giles, DougGiles.org. The new book's called The Bible and Hunting. And you can tick off a vegetarian probably, or some hippie, loopy person from some weird city. You can tick them up by going to The Bible Hunting. Yeah,
don't do it directly. Just put it in a common area, like when you have like people over for Labor Day. So don't hand it to your college student kid that worships Satan. He's got 666 tattooed on his neck. He's got so many piercings, it looks like he fell down a flight of stairs holding a tackle box. Just put it in a common area. Maybe put it in the bedroom. And the chapter on God's idea of interior design is...
I have a feeling you have the canvas behind you of God's idea of interior design.
Yeah, so when he was trimming out the tabernacle of Moses, I mean, think about this. So you go to church, I go to church. And it's like, let's put some floral sprays, and let's get some carpet that's like mauve, and let's get some fat baby angel prints, and we'll put them around the sanctuary. God says, I want ram skins. I want porpoise skins. I want deer and elk skins in the tabernacle of Moses. Dude, think about that. And the people, Jimmy, they had them. Yeah. So it wasn't like, well, where the hell are we going to get those? They don't sell that at Bed Bath & Beyond. They freaking had in a porpoise skin. They had flipper skins in the tabernacle of Moses. And just funny stuff, man.
I'm telling you, the decorating committee would be very offended by that. You got to have some precious moments laying around too in the church, someplace like in the nursery area. Yeah. Doug Giles, DougGiles.org. Appreciate you, my friend. DougGiles.org. DougGiles.org. Get a copy of the dang book, The Bible and Hunting, and then maybe give it over to the pastor or the decorating committee at your little Baptist church and tell them they're not decorating properly, and see if you that you might need to find another church. It's all right. It happens to the best of us. All right. Glad to have all of you here on the show. But see, that's what happens. I get guests. It lets my throat calm down, and then I don't have to carry the weight of everything. But I had a guest to stand me up, and that guest will be shamed in just a few moments as I reach out to the publicist, and I will try not to use bad words, but I will say, dang it, poop. Why did you stand me up? And anyway, appreciate you putting up with my coughing earlier in the program. But if you made it this far, you can tell the throat calmed down. And that's all because we had some guests in there to give me a little respite. And that's why I appreciate all of you for putting up with that. All right, glad to have you here on the show. It is a Friday edition of the show, the first day of August. And the first Friday of September. It's always the Friday after Labor Day. It's my ninth annual Rivers Promise charity golf event. And some of you hear it and you kind of ignore it, or you're like, well, I've heard him talk about this. Listen, this is not just for golfers. This is a fun day, a fun event, and we'd love for you to come. Even if you've just played putt-putt golf, it's okay. There's still something that you can do. Even just show up for lunch, reach out. We'll get you set up to come for there. But here's another thing. This is our biggest fundraising event of the year. We're not playing to win championships. We give some fun trophies away. And there's drawings and there's door prizes and all sorts of fun. There's comedians out on the actual golf course making jokes and insulting people. It's a great time. It's really fun. But the real key is it's an opportunity. It's a focal point on the calendar in which we can go to people that are at the golf tournament, not at the golf tournament, and say, would you focus on our charity? That's why for the next several weeks, I'm going to be talking about September 5th. And you say, well, I'm not going to golf. Tune it out. No, don't tune it out. I pray to Jesus that every one of you that hear me talk about the golf tournament for between now and September the 5th and even afterwards, that you will have it hit in your mind. I may not be able to participate, but I can't help. I may not play golf, but I can't help. And that's why I do it. It's just another entry point. It's just another opportunity for me to talk about the work that we do at Rivers Promise. And I've said this before, the kids we work with would not be in school. Many of the kids that we actually have in our school, Legacy Christian Academy, many of them would not be alive today. And I mean that sincerely. They would not be alive because the mortality rate was very high in the area that we used to be in. And these kids don't have birth certificates or papers. And so it's just what we know. We know what we know, that the mortality rate was a lot higher. And these kids are living lives. They're prospering. They're dreaming hopes and futures that they never, ever thought they could have. Girls literally will tell you that about 5th, 6th, 7th grade, they realize, wow, I'm in school, but my peers, they're prostituting themselves. We are taking some of those dire situations and we're turning them around. And here's another key where there was a lot of paganism, a lot of idol worship before we got out there, a lot of false gods, a lot of witch doctory. Witch doctory? Is that a word? A lot of witch doctoring. A lot of that stuff was going on. And because of our work at Legacy Christian Academy, we've been able to take them the Christian message. A lot of them know Jesus now. And that's the most important thing. Reading and writing and arithmetic are key, but those things are not going to help you in eternity, but the Christian message will. And so, again, I want to mention the golf tournament. I know sometimes you hear it and you go, oh, I don't want to hear this golf tournament thing again. I don't play golf, Jimmy. Listen, but you do have a heart and you can help us. So I mean it sincerely, even if you don't play golf, maybe donate part of a foursome, the amount of a foursome, or maybe sponsor a hole. However you can help, we'd love to have your help. And I'll give you, anyway, just reach out to us, riverspromise.org. There's opportunities. And again, even if you don't play golf, I pray that every time you hear me talk about the golf event for the next 5 weeks, that it will be a reminder for you not to tune out, but for you to reflect on the goodness of God and all the work that he allows us to do in Rwanda. If you want to learn more about it, go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. If you go to, I think, one of the pages there, and I don't remember which page, but I believe one of the documentaries that was done, a little mini documentary about Rivers Promise, it was put together by our very own producer, Chad. And that is up, I believe, on the website. It used to be, we have a new website, so I need to remember where it's at there. But you should be able to find the documentary by producer Chad, and it's called Rivers Return. And it was my son's return to Rwanda. It wasn't his first time back after the adoption. It was his first time back as a man. He was a senior in high school, and now he's reflecting on things different than going back with me when he's 7 or 8 and just kind of having a great time. Perspective changed, and producer Chad does a great job of pushing out that story. So that's the documentary is available. Mini documentary should be up on the website. And if not, I'll apologize on Monday. We'll put it out there so you can see producer Chad's documentary. It's from a couple of years ago, but producer Chad was on that trip with us. Sherry Cree was on that trip with us. Even, I'm guilty by association, But even obnoxious Scott from Wyoming was on that trip with us. And sometime I'll have to tell you the first time I ever met Scott. Just a random radio listener wanted to go with me to Rwanda and walked up me to the airport. We booked his ticket. He's going with us. And he says, "You must be Jimmy." And I was scared to death. I thought it was the end of me. He said, "I'm traveling with you today." And at that point, I prayed to Jesus and see if I could go home. No, just kidding. It's a great documentary. It should be riverspromise.org, but make a donation. And again, that's my prayer for the golf tournament. Every time I mention it, I pray that you'll hear this little voice in your head reminding you that you can still help, even if you hate golf, okay? Even if you hate golf, if you hate it. Riverspromise.org. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for putting up with a cough today. I apologize. We did not have an exit strategy on that, but we made it through, and your patience and your generosity are unbelievable, and I do appreciate you. Everybody, happy August. I mean this. Have a great weekend. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. I'll be back here Monday morning with producer Chad. I may wear some animal skin in honor of biblical decoration on Monday. I think I look like Fred Flintstone wearing an animal skin. Or maybe I look like Bam Bam or Barney. I don't know. Don't tempt me. I could show up here like Tarzan in an animal skin loincloth, and that would get the chat room talking. By the way, everybody's still curious, aren't you? I got to get a new one. There's a new number this season. There's a new football number. I'll explain it all another day. I'll see you Monday morning. Don't forget, donate, register for golf, riverspromise.org. Until we meet again Monday, love you. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey, peace. I'm out of here.